Hi everyone, welcome to Hedgehog. I can't tell you how excited I am to try out this product for hit or miss, and also just in general. It seems like super cool. So I am using the We Are Memory Keepers Spin It, and it's part of our epoxy series I've been doing with trays, all sorts of fun things. So this is designed to spin your tumblers, which I have one here ready. And this started out as just a silver tumbler. You can see I spray painted it. It's a little bit of overspray and things, but it doesn't matter. I did sand it lightly between coats so it's nice and smooth, but you're not going to see much of it afterwards anyway, because today's trick is how to color them. Now I just wanted to point out to you, I do have gloves on. These are pink surgical gloves because I'll link them up. But just this piece here screws to make this bigger or smaller depending on the size of your cup. There is also an ornament arm available. I'm sure they're going to come out with lots of more things as well, and accessories. This is the prep kit. So you see here, there's gloves in here, there's some of the foam brushes, popsicle sticks, these kind of things. You really could get these things at Dollar Tree, probably for a lot better value. And I pre-mixed a little bit of epoxy in my cup here. You can get We Are Memory Keepers or just generic brand. And I'll add links in the description. I'll use the one on Amazon as well as the We Are Memory Keepers one. And so all you have to do is plug it in. Now, one word of warning is it is a USB, but it doesn't come with the USB adapter. So you'll need one of those. So I'm going to plug this in here. And then I'm just going to see if we have enough room to do it this way. I think we might on this one. So I'm going to pop this in here. And you want to make sure that it's well in your cup, because one thing you do not want while it's turning is for it to come out. So I'm going to turn this on, and I'm going to turn it on to a fairly low speed. So for this particular technique I'm going to show you today, I'm just going to take out my popsicle stick. And the great thing about having these disposable trays is, of course, you can just put all of your things in there. I'm just going to start pouring the epoxy on. Just a light coat. And then I've watched lots of tutorials. I have had a trial run. It's definitely something that you'll kind of get the feel of more than anything. And all I'm doing here is just making sure it's all over my cup. Actually, there's quite a lot of epoxy in here. I'm going to use my brush to get the last of this one out. Put my cup over here. So you can see my finger. What I'm doing really is just making sure there's some everywhere. Try not to get any in the top, or as little as you can. That's why I put my tape there, to give me a nice line. And then what you're going to want to do is leave it to turn for at least 4 hours, just to kind of even itself out. But you want a really thin coat on first of all. So I think I pretty much have it everywhere. Now by turning it, what it's going to do is it's going to level it out as it turns. So we're going to leave this to turn for about 4 hours, and then I'm going to leave it to harden and cure. So I'm going to come back tomorrow, which will actually still be this video for you. But really, in reality, it's kind of like overnight for the process to finish of the turning. And then we're going to add on the fun colouring. So once your 4 hours have passed, what I did was I took off my tape, I took a craft knife, and I just tidied up the top. So I have a really nice top piece up here. And then you want to leave it to cure. So I left it overnight. It was about 9 o'clock at night by the time I'd finished my 4 hours. And then I left it just to dry overnight till this morning. Now we're going to put another coat on, and we're going to add in our alcohol inks. We're going to add all that pretty colour in. I've chosen a selection of pinks, blues and purples because I think they're going to coordinate really nicely together. I also have my blending solution and a spray bottle with isopropyl alcohol in it. Now a couple of other things I should mention. So to get rid of bubbles, I also use my heat gun. You'll see me do that again today. I forgot to mention that yesterday. And I do have a clean tray underneath because mine has gone solid, so I'm just going to use this one as my scrap tray. But that all works too. Okay. So I'm going to start this turning again. So the first thing we're going to do is add our alcohol inks. So I'm going to add them in as I want to whilst it's turning. And what you'll find is the colours kind of just drip around, which is really neat. And you want to make sure you leave room. And I'm still catching, so I'm just going to peel this tape off and I'll fix that in a minute. So you want to make sure you leave room for it to kind of drip around, because it's all going to blend together. So don't put everything too close. You see how these drips are turning into stripes?
So this is a non-porous surface. So this is going to behave exactly as it does on your UPO. So you could use, you know, like your air guns and all those kinds of things. Lots and lots of different options. So you can see how it's all starting to mix together. I'm going to peel my tape off, and what I'll do is I'll reapply it before we go with the epoxy. I think that's going to be an easier way to go. And then it won't catch on anything, because you don't want that tray to disappear. It's really important that you have something underneath. So now I'm adding on some pink. And so again, you can see how those alcohol inks are interacting together. And I'm adding a bit more pink than anything else because I want that colour to go. And that's why I chose complementary colours rather than anything else. Now, a couple of notes. If I now use isopropyl alcohol, that actually removes colour, although it does help it blend. Whereas if I go with blending solution, it blends without affecting those colours. It has a special resin in it that does that. So if I just go like this, you're going to see how those colours start to change. It makes them a bit more liquidy, and they're going to interact together too, which is super cool. So you can now see, I'm going to let it just spin for a second. This evaporates really quickly, so it's not going to matter if you know, leave a couple of seconds between coats. So like here I can see there are gaps. And you can see as I start to now add these colours, everything's mixing together. You can still use, as I say, your, you know, like keyboard spray. You could use your airbrush. You could use all sorts of things to pull these colours together if you wanted to. I'm going to add a little more of like the turquoisey colours just to kind of really have those. I'm going to put them in the white space. I'm adding quite a lot at the top here because I really want that to bead its way down. And you'll notice, depending on where the cup is, where you put your colour down, it will depend on where the colour goes. So you can kind of feel those things and see how you want them. Now, if you want to lighten it up, if you feel like this area is a bit dark, that's when you want to grab the isopropyl alcohol, because you can see that it kind of like bleaches as it goes around. So you're going to get a different effect than if I use blending solution, which doesn't affect your colours, it just really blends them together. I'm going to go in again with some more turquoise. Almost just going to kind of do this edge. And if you get it on the inside of the cup, that's okay, because as long as you don't put epoxy on it, we can take this off afterwards with blending solution, which is the best part. Again, I can do this edge. And if you want to get some patina in, just turn it off and you could put the blending solution in the top, and you see it's not going to move in the same way. So if it's static, you'll get different movement than if you have it together. I'm also just going to use my finger to fill in a couple of white areas. And if you put blending solution on your finger, it will give you that same reaction. I'll leave that for a second. So you can see how I'm getting extra kind of movement and patina just by putting my finger in. And you don't have to cover the whole space if you don't want to. I don't really like the white spots so much, so I'm covering everything in. But I do like that kind of pink streak down there. I want to lighten that up a little bit. So I'm just doing one final turn. And I'm just making sure that everything is blended. And if you want to, you can add more colours. You can do this in layers. So anything you can do with alcohol inks on UPO, you can do on your cup. I want to get it back round to me. I'm just going to add. So you see I can now add pink in. It doesn't necessarily all just marble together. You get those extra things in there. So if you want to now dominate a little bit with pink. What I like to do is keep it still at that moment, because then you get it to really kind of pull out with like the cells and the nucleus. And then you can move it around once it's got its position. So you see how you can get those kinds of effects. So you can really play with it. If you don't like what you've got, just take a kitchen towel with blending solution on it, and then you can wipe everything off and start again. So that's the great thing about this project. And I'm preferring kind of the lighter effect, so I'm just going in with some blending solution and blending out some of those colors like that. So next up, you want to wait for it to dry. So I'm going to quickly help that dry just with my heat tool, and then we're going to add our next layer of epoxy. So I'm just giving this a helping hand. And I really love kind of like it's almost like layers of rock. And this is going to dry really quickly, so you can evaporate this super fast. And you can just touch it and see if it's dry. Nearly. So this part takes a couple of minutes, but not much at all. So it's pretty dry. The only thing I'm going to do is just add a new piece of tape on the inside of my cup, just to avoid the epoxy. But as I say, after the 4 hours, it's at a nice kind of hard but softened state, and you can just go in. I'm going to turn this off while I do it. And you can take a craft knife to it and give yourself a really nice, neat edge. Now this is hard to do with gloves on, but I'm going to work this out in a... You can see it doesn't go super fast when it's slow setting, so you can add tape and things in. So let's add our next layer of epoxy. So same deal, follow the instructions. It's roughly about 50 to 50 on most things that I've used. But you want to just keep stirring, make sure it's really thoroughly mixed. Don't worry about any bubbles in it, because we're going to take those out with our heat gun. Okay, so let's start pouring on. You want to pour slowly and have it rolling. So let's start it going. And most epoxies are self-leveling too, so you don't have to worry about it not being even. It'll kind of level itself out. You just want to make sure you've got enough everywhere. I'm just being careful around that there. Do you see I'm kind of like a 1/4 of an inch in? And it's kind of filling itself in. You'll see as it goes down, it kind of settles in a certain place. And from that, you'll be able to do your edge. I'm just waiting for it to fill in all those gaps. So, and now I'm going to do the gaps everywhere else. So you're going to want it to spin a couple of times so you can make sure you've caught everything everywhere. Same on this edge. And you can put epoxy on the bottom too to seal it all the way in if you want to. So I'm just waiting for it to go round. And I like working a bit slower with this bit just because it helps me see where the gaps are. So as that comes around, I can see there's a gap here. So that's what I'm going to fill in. And it's a really slow trickle that I've got going on, so you don't get too much on there. Okay, so it looks pretty even. I'm going to put this in my piece over here, and now I'm going to go all the way around. I'm going to speed it up a little bit. I'm going to go with my heat gun, just taking out any air bubbles as well. And you don't want to keep this in the same place, just keep it moving. And you'll kind of see all the little air bubbles come to the top and pop. And you want to do that until it's spun, and like now I can see there's less and less. And so I'm moving it the whole time, and I can't see any air bubbles anymore. And so now we're going to leave this to spin for 4 hours and then take it off. I'll do the top piece and then I'll let it dry again overnight. And so we're done. One finished cup, and it looks awesome. Also, I have now matching nails overnight to match as well. I had them done with alcohol ink and foil. So lots of different things you can do on your cup. Really exciting. I definitely have some things to learn, like I would like a more even coating. Don't touch it, Alex, until it's been overnight. It's not going to be done, even though you hope it will. But overall, it looks fab. And what I could do if I wanted to is I could sand this and add another thin coat. But I think for a first attempt, and it's so easy to use. You can also do glitter and all sorts of other things. We've tried lots of things since this one in the studio. We kind of left this one for a week while we went to Creativation. But, you know, we tried all sorts of things and we love it. It's just really good fun. And it's nice to have a tool that does it. As I mentioned, I think that there's an ornament add-on too, and I think there's a few other add-ons, having seen things at Creativation. So lots of versatility in it, and you can do all sorts of cups. This one has a lid which you just pop on, and it also, because I taped up that edge, it has a nice smooth edge, and so my lid still goes on and it's still watertight. So you can check out all the links below, and of course any coupon codes we have we'll put there for you as well. And if you want even more savings and coupon codes, you can hit that join button below me. It's now on iOS devices as well. Plus hit that subscribe button and ring the bell next to it, because tomorrow I'm going to be back with another tip, trick, tutorial, or maybe something a little bit different. Be sure to join me. Have a fantastic crafty day, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.